Hello and welcome to Recyclist. I'm your host, Eric Provost, and I'm being joined today by a very special guest. I'm really excited to talk to this gentleman right now. Please help me welcome to the show the director of Orange County Waste and Recycling out in California, Mr. Tom Katroulis. Thank you so much for joining me today, sir.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
I'm really excited, like I said, to get into our conversation. You and I, we're basically connecting the two most extreme opposite ends of the country right now. Us and Recyclist here on the ocean side of the East Coast, and you guys out there in California with a nice ocean view of the West Coast. How are things out there in sunny California?
Well, I can tell you that the weather is very consistent, and even though summer's winding down and we're getting into fall, temperatures are still good outside.
Does it ever down there in Orange County? How much do you guys ever actually feel the winter?
Um, when it gets winter here, because I've been here so long, my blood is pretty thin. So once it goes 60 degrees, everybody has winter clothes on. So
Fair enough. Fair
fortunately, we're,
enough.
we're pretty spoiled when it comes to the weather here.
Fair enough. I'll have to get out that way at some point, if nothing else, to go see the landfills and
Well, that's one of
check
the
you
hot
guys out.
reasons you want to come out here, Eric, is to come see the landfills. Disneyland is here, but I'll tell you what, for the right price, we will give you a tour of our landfill, show you what we're doing, and you'll love the price, and you'll walk away knowing more and being able to talk a lot of trash. So we welcome
Fair
you out.
enough. Fair enough. I feel like that, much different context than what I think people are used to hearing that phrase under. But yeah, I would love to come out and check, see what you guys are doing. You guys have a huge operation out there. We know a lot of landfill techs and a lot of landfill operators, and they kind of operate on a single landfill basis. But you guys have a pretty sizable operation going on, correct?
Yes, we do. We manage all the solid waste in Orange County, and we also receive waste from outside of Orange County. So within the state of California, there are 58 counties, of which we have are the third largest receiver of waste within our landfill system, infrastructure system, and we, as an agency, are the largest landfill owner operator, of course, in Southern California. And so we actually have three very large landfills. We handle roughly a little bit over 5 million tons of waste a year. But our focus, even though we manage waste, right? If you heard in our title, it's also there's a recycling component to what we do as well. And our agency's in a state of change within the industry related to diversion of waste within the state of California, related to most recent legislation of SB 1383. For those in the state of California, know it very well, but it's really the diversion of organics from disposal. And because organics, once they're buried, they create landfill gas. We take that landfill gas, and of course, we have to manage it and either flare it, or right now we're creating energy, renewable energy from it, and we have renewable natural gas projects
Yeah.
coming online as well.
Yeah, I know California is very active when it comes to legislation within that industry specifically.
There's no end to it. And we have even more legislation coming up, SB 54, which is actually mandating um, the basically mandating and reducing single use plastics to either recyclable or compostable. So that's new legislation that's also coming out.
So let's go ahead and get into things, Tom. I feel like we're going to get into the weeds a little bit here, but I mean, we've kind of set it up perfectly between the amount of stuff that you guys take in and all the legislative activity going on in California. You guys have felt pretty inspired to start tackling waste on a much more efficient level. Uh, can you explain to me this idea of this approach that you're taking of a smart landfill?
Right before I jump into that, so
Hmm.
it's a combined effort, right? So what we've done at our three very active landfills, in order to divert organics, number one, from disposal, we actually built out three compost facilities. And so what happens when waste comes in, the organic fraction that gets buried turns into landfill gas. that has methane, CO2, and some trace gases in there. And so we are responsible for managing waste in place, collecting that landfill gas, and destroying it. And so part of that destruction effort, right? We collect it, we either put it through a flare or we put it through our power plants. And so right now we're creating a renewable energy to power over 25,000 homes. And so our goal and our responsibility is to manage that landfill gas. However, the way the rules were written and the processes implemented over 30 years ago are pretty antiquated. And so, regarding the smart landfill system, what we're looking at is introducing new technologies to better increase the efficiency and management of the landfill gas collection system, monitoring, and reporting. And so, what didn't exist 30 years ago, we're trying to implement and work with the legislators and the regulators to get these systems in place so they're acceptable for us to use and report on.
And when it comes to trying to implement all of this stuff, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced?
Well, part of it, I'll say the main part of it is really the regulatory aspect of it.
I bet.
It's pretty rigid. And granted, you know what? It's not to say that it isn't needed, right? However, there needs to be the ability to introduce innovation and technologies to improve the efficiencies. And let me expand on that portion of it. So, when we have to do inspections of our landfills, and we have what happens is we have a collection system. And for those of you that don't know what a landfill gas collection system is, once waste is buried in place, it's covered with soil to basically contain the material underground. As
Yes.
it sits underground, the landfill gas is created through the decomposition of organic material. And then what we do is we drill holes in it in the ground. We put wells in there. They're pipes with perforation, and we put a vacuum on it to draw that landfill gas out and send it to the flare or to the power plant. Well, what happens over time is that we have to manage and monitor each one of the wellheads. But we also have to manage and monitor what happens naturally, which is called differential settlement. And so as waste decomposes, right, it creates these voids. And what happens to the cover, the soil, it can get cracks in it. And those cracks actually prevent or at least allow landfill gas to escape. And so we have to um, sort of chase the wind and determine and inspect, where are those cracks happening. We have to remediate for them. And the process in which you do that is by walking the entire landfill. And we're not talking a small portion. We're talking, you know, up to 300 to 400 acres you have to walk with a what's called a sniffer, and you hold it about
Yep.
6 inches above the ground, and you wave it back and forth, and you have to walk all of this acreage, right? And you have to identify these spots where landfill gas is detected. You identify it, and then you remediate it. Now, back then, that was the only technology and method available. Today, we have the ability to introduce drones where we could actually, rather than walking it, we could fly a drone using laser and LiDAR detectors to identify leaks within the cover much more efficiently than having an individual walk. And I'll give you an example. For our facility at FRB, it takes, if we were to try and cover that facility in one day to inspect just once, it would take us anywhere from about 20 to 25 individuals walking with a sniffer the entire day, uh, the entire property to detect any kind of leak. If we use a drone, we could do that in a matter of a few hours of just flying the same work of 19 individuals walking through with the sniffer. Not only can we do it once during the day, we could do it more frequently. And what the regulations call for is that we do this at least uh, once a quarter. So that's all we have to do is once a quarter to detect these leaks. But the thing about it is, as this differential settlement happens, it can the landfill topography can change from one day to the next. So by introducing this technology, it will allow us not only to increase the efficiency, but also increase the landfill gas capture by repairing the cracks from differential settlement. And so what we're trying to do is work with the regulators to allow us to use these drones to go out, inspect, and do these types of repairs.
And I know when it comes to the drones, there's been a couple landfills and a few manufacturers and companies around the around the country that have started to look at drone applications when it comes to
Yep.
landfill gas detection. I know you guys have something fairly unique going on over there in Orange County, though, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about this little good boy, this little
Yeah.
robotic good boy that you have out there. I want to get into the weeds of the technology between both the drone and this sniffer dog that you guys have, but please introduce the people to your little robo sniffer dog, sir.
Yeah. All right. So I'll put it in context, right? So we have the drones that we fly,
Hmm.
and you're right. I'll say it's not just us. I'll say across the industry, across the nation, everyone's looking at this technology, right? And I'll say, and it's similar technology in the sense of using laser detection. In some, there's a sniffer and there's a laser detector, and now that you bring up the I'll say robo dog that we have in place, and we started this off as a pilot, working with SCS engineers to take a look at the potential for getting into hard to reach areas where we would not have to send our own employees with that equipment to do inspections. And so this robo dog came up as an opportunity, and what we did was we attached a basically a handheld laser methane detector uh, to the dog. Was able to make a connection and basically send it up a hill and into areas that would be unsafe really to send your employee. And so, the technology that we're using right now is similar technology that we have on the drones with the handheld laser devices, being attached to this, robot dog and sent into these areas that are, either tight, rough terrain, and so it's actually, gotten us a little bit more interest in what we're doing. So I not only like the technology, but I like the fact that people are finding interest in what we're doing because of the innovation.
Yeah, I recently spoke with the CEO of Swana, Amy Lushenberg, and
Yeah.
she mentioned that specifically as something she was very enamored with when she came out and saw you guys. Was she was very taken with the Robo Dog.
Yeah, and I'll say it was a great tour with Amy. Having her out here, it was a pleasure having her and James come out and spend some time with us. And I'll say, quite frankly, Eric, no one really cares about what we do unless they smell it or it doesn't get picked up, right? So the Robo Dog has actually gotten us a little bit more attention because we're trying this innovative technology, and people are finding a lot more interest in what we're doing. And now, granted, it's there's a lot of high tech that goes into it, and as technology goes, it's innovation continues to move forward, and the technology continues to get better. But we're very excited to use these and test these pieces of equipment out at our facilities as as potential tools to help improve what we do as an agency to protect public health and the environment.
Yeah, and I'm really interested, like I said, to get into, a little bit of the weeds because we know a lot of, like I said, landfill techs and landfill operators, and I know a lot of them are watching the technology landscape a lot more because, especially in recent years, there's been a lot of really efficient, really interesting, and just frankly cool developments to happen on that side. And I think a lot of them would like to know any good, potentially even cost effective ways that they can make their jobs easier or potentially even much more accountable.
Yeah.
So,
And so, in talking about making our jobs more effective, more succinct, and accountable. So, what's happening today in our industry, and a lot of things that drive industry change, it really falls within the regulatory and legislative body of of the industry. And so, innovation, I'll say, has now playing a role in addressing what's being driven, or at least what's being driven by the industry, in improving, I'll say, landfill gas collection, reducing emissions, and I'll say the challenge it also takes to find qualified individuals within our industry to do some of this work, and to put, I'll say, individuals in scenarios and situations where there are potential for injuries. Because if you can imagine trying to cover hundreds of acres on foot to do an inspection, there's risk involved with that. Not only from a and depending on the location of the landfills, I have these conversations with other, say, entities and landfill operators and contractors that oversee these programs, and they have to send individuals out in remote areas to where they have to do their own inspection and testing. And so one of the challenges they have with that is sending you can't just send one person, you have to send two people out, and for safety reasons. And so the ability to minimize risk to, I'll say, your workers or contractors, the use of this technology helps, at least in that area. I will say the other aspect of it is the overall efficiency of getting the data necessary to make the correct decision. Because right now, the way it stands, the data that you receive on, I'll say, just landfill monitoring, at best is 30 days old. So you're looking in the rearview mirror, making a decision on for the future. So in as much as you can get the data, manage it, and make sound decisions, the better off you are. Because the landfill is a living, breathing entity, it is in constant change and flux. And by taking these, I'll say, these snapshots in time, it only gives you a limited amount of information. What the innovation of use of drones, with whether you're flying them, right, or in using a robo dog to get into areas to inspect, and getting that data, will help, I'll say, the agencies or team make decisions on what they need to do next in order to either mitigate landfill gas migration, or I'll say increase landfill gas collection by increasing uh, flow, by putting in additional wells. And it's those types of business decisions that need to be made. And you can't make them. I mean, you can't make sound decisions on old information. The best decisions are made on fresh data, where you're able to monitor it, manage it, and look at, I'll say, trending data. And again, Eric, I'll say this: I'm a data geek at heart. I prefer to make decisions based off sound information, and so for I'll say me and the rest of the team, we're enjoying being able to put this technology out there, whether it's the drones or using the robo dog to, let's say, climb a hill or go into a culvert, or we've used them in drain pipes even. And so, and using this technology to make decisions and determinations on what's happening is not only it makes the job a little bit easier, but I believe it makes us a lot more effective in the industry.
Well, let's go ahead and talk some vital statistics really quickly. For anybody out there who might be interested in starting to pursue this technology for their own use, when it comes to the actual detection software in both the drone and the gas sniffer dog, are these based off of existing devices that are being repurposed for the drone and the dog, or is this new technology that is having to be developed specifically for these applications?
Well, I'll say it's a combination of both, right? You have existing technology that we're using, I'll say, to do detection, but we also have there are entities that we're working with that are connecting the dots, right? So as this technology improves, and there is, and I can't give you one specific piece of technology or promote one over the other. But what I can tell you, there are various pieces of technology, I'll just say either off the shelf, right, that you could get and use for, I'll say, immediate detection. But there are programs or at least systems right now that are being developed that is taking this information, putting it into a database, and putting together sound analysis by identifying on GIS heat maps of areas when the drone flies over, because there's a complexity to capturing this data, right? Because what you're doing is you're taking a laser, you're sending it from a certain distance above ground, and you're scanning the surface. And as you do that, it's picking up these molecules of methane because that's what it's detecting, the methane. It's determining the density of that, right? Because what happens and what we have to take into consideration is, I'll say, the ambient air and wind speed. Where is it coming from? Because you can still detect it in the air, but you still have to triangulate to determine where's the source. And so all of these things, I'll say the technology has to work succinctly in collecting the data, identifying the source, and then plotting it on a map. And then once it's plotted on that map, then we can go out there and get more surgical in the sense that we can then use the sniffers to identify the specific area and location, map it out, and then remediate it.
Obviously you guys start with the drones, but if you guys detect any leaks, you send the dog out there. How far, and I assume the drones are more long range deployment. Is the dog actually capable of fairly long range deployment itself, or how, close of an operation do you guys need to be with that?
Yeah, I would say we've had these discussions internally and with our working group. The technology is improving as such that eventually the dogs could. I'll say the funny thing is that the dogs could have their own doghouse and located at the site, and they could just be deployed and then come back, recharge, and from their doghouse, right? But right now, as we're managing it, we're taking out the robo dog and using it pretty much in, I'll say, in close proximity of the operations. It's not really being deployed like the drones, where you can fly from a distance, right? We have a flight pattern that the drones will fly on a consistent basis, and the dog will be used for the robo dog would be used for more surgical application in tight knit areas where we would drive out. I'll say release the hounds.
Is that all still manual control, even like the drone's flight patterns, or is there any amount of or any element of automatic deployment to these?
Well, right now the dogs do not have any autonomy. Right now it's all manual.
100% manual. Okay.
It's 100% manual. It's not to say that it can't. And it won't be eventually, right?
Yeah.
But right now it's all manual. We have an operator that will take the dog out. take it off its leash, right, and let it go do its job and direct it in the area where that it needs to go.
And it's still consistently been able to traverse the often very steep terrains of the landfills without much issue.
I'll say, and that's probably what's been the most interesting thing or exciting thing to actually see it get into tight areas. And I'll share this with you. One of our, I'll say our operator and contractor, he will encourage individuals, and he did this once, and I have a hard time with it though. But he did it once. He said, "Hey, try and kick the dog over." And just the entire, you know, comment to try and kick the dog, even though it's a robot, right?
Yeah,
There's something internally that says, "Hey,
you're
that's
calling
not a
it a
good idea."
dog. You don't want
Right?
to.
You're calling
Yeah,
it a dog. We can't, we can't call it a dog and tell him to try and kick it over because it's a robot. But it's those kind of things. You see the technology in action, and again, seeing it actually happen out in the field is very impressive. And you have a deeper understanding of it. I don't think many people will truly get a feel from it from this conversation. So one of the things I do encourage, if you're ever in Orange County and you want a tour, uh, come pay a visit. But seeing is believing, and so watching the animal, not animal, the robot sort of traverse the hillside, see what it's capable of doing is pretty impressive. And again, right now it's all manually controlled. Eventually, I think with the advances in software, there will be some autonomy where you will be able to give them a somewhat like a flight pattern, right? A path that needs to go. And so I believe that will be happening soon enough.
and when it comes to compliance, like Method 21 and all this stuff, I
Mhm.
assume all of this is being done with. Uh, is it mostly being done with California standards in mind, or can the technology currently be applied more nationally?
Yeah, we are hyper focused on California standards simply because, from what I know, California standards are a little bit more rigid
Yeah.
uh, than the rest of the nation. So our focus is really on the California standards, and I would say I would believe I would like to think that it could be applied nationally. But again, we're doing it for our own operational purposes, proof of concept, and sort of trying to help advance the technology and the use of it. We've had conversations with CARB, this California Air Resources Board,
Yeah.
on this, and we've been talking to them for quite a few years about the use of drones. We have a working group that's been discussing this as well, and we're talking about flight drones, right? Now we're talking about robo dogs and the use of that technology as well.
And I've got to say, I've got to imagine it's just really fun, first of all, to go through and do all this stuff. But you say you're a data nerd. When it comes to the data, I assume both the drones and the robo dog have real time data transfer, some type of Bluetooth or some type of wireless technology that you're seeing the data in real time while they're being deployed, correct?
Yeah, you actually can see, especially with the drone, you can see it in real time, GIS on the map, because we have the images that are being collected at the same time, and you can see exactly the area that they're scanning, and even identify the hot spots with the heat maps. So it's pretty exciting to see it at that pace because what it will allow us to do then is to respond quicker.
Is there any data that the drones or the dogs can't themselves collect while they're being deployed that you still have to have a human go out and do? Or can they basically do everything that a human detector would do at this point?
Um, you still have the human element that's needed, right? Because it's not only about detection; we still have to repair it, right? You
Yeah.
find it, you fix it. So, in the sense that we find something, um, it's all right, exciting, right? The reality of it is, our job is to fix it. And so we have to get out there and again, boots on the ground. They still have to be a little bit more surgical, and they'll it's a trust but verify, right? We trust the technology and we look at it, but we still have to verify it. And so we still need individuals out there uh, identifying it, and we're still using the handheld devices, and we're not going in blind and just off of a work order. We are doing the trust but verify aspect of what we need to do.
When it comes to the actual operational aspect of it, just very quickly, like what are some potential, like have you had guys had to worry about maintenance too much, or uh battery life, or have any concerns come up that you guys have had to address?
Oh, great. All right, great question. So regarding the technology, right? So as far as the batteries go, um, the way the system is set up, it will let you know ahead of time, sort of the battery life, and how many more minutes of flight time it has, or it'll reach a point where it will identify the distance in which it needs to return. So that once the battery's charged in the drone and it runs a flight pattern, we know exactly the energy consumption and the amount of information or data that it will collect in that flight. So it's very prescribed. Um, so battery power has not been an issue as of today, right? I'll say early on, yeah, we did. I'll say lesson learned. Right, we did have a drone fall out of the sky while we were, running it, and of course, this was quite a few years ago when the technology wasn't there. But advances in battery management um, and I'll say skill set of our drone operators have improved.
And when it comes to the cost, I'm sure that, you know, doing the job of already a couple dozen people is probably enough to convince some people to start investing in their own drones and robo dogs. But in terms of the operational cost of this, could you even ballpark that right now for any other landfill operators if they were looking to incorporate this into their operation?
Yeah, you know what? It would be hard for me to do that for you right now, Eric. I know that we do have some. I'll say the initial figures when we first started, quite a few years ago. It was quite an investment. I'll say since then, we have seen costs come down in the technology and improvement in the technology. So, as it relates to, I'll say, overall management of the landfill, it's actually it's minimal cost in a sense of investing in a system like this, because most landfill operators, if they don't have their own drone operator, they're contracting it out. So, either you're contracting it out and you're using drones from a contractor, or you have your own in-house operations. And so, I would say the operator would have to take a look at the cost benefit of having someone on site and having immediate access to the data, or having their contractor manage it for them.
Yeah, because I know that this is a really exciting time for new technology, but I just thinking about some of the concerns that some people might have. I know that cost would obviously be paramount among them, and then of course you're thinking about training their people and
Yeah,
maintenance costs, which is why I brought that up, and then
yeah,
any potential uh, like technology upgrades that they'd have to worry about, because you've already said the technology has already come pretty far just in the past couple of years. Imagine where it's going to be in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now. So maybe new software or hardware that they'll have to
yeah,
purchase in the next
yeah,
couple of years could also be a concern, or just at the very least something they need to think about. So
yeah. And I'll
I
say, Eric, you're absolutely right. Depending on the size of the operations
yeah.
and the frequency and the business requirement or need, all of that will determine the best path forward. And I can tell you that we still work with some great contractors, and we also have our in-house operations. And so, I mean, we do a little bit of both. And I'll say there are scenarios. There could be smaller operations that contracting out or working with a larger, or I say a larger group of smaller landfill operators, where they could work together on using the same technology and leveraging the contractors to come out um, might be an advantage.
Yeah, and I know all that being said, I know it could be a very complicated issue, but I mean, for me, I look at the capability of what I mean, you mentioned it already earlier. You can do the same thing with a drone in a couple hours that it would typically take almost 2 dozen people an entire day to perform. Not only are you saving all of those man hours, but in addition to that, I mean, this is machine precision, this is machine
Yeah,
accuracy. But I think just by and large, the biggest point of fact at this point is just the safety aspect, because these
yeah,
are dangerous gases that these landfill operators are having to go out and check for. So just simply having a machine, simply having that sniffer dog who can go in and put their nose directly to the ground and
yeah.
say, oh yeah, that's certainly a methane leak there, certainly helps from a safety aspect. And I think from that point alone, we're going to see a pretty widespread adoption of these technologies as they continue to develop. Even beyond just the fact that, as you mentioned earlier, it's just really cool to have a robot sniffer dog, and people have gotten really interested in what you're doing just because of that. But I
Yeah.
think once you pull back the curtain a little bit and see the potential applications, I do think there is going to be a lot more of these popping up within the industry in the next couple of years. Do you think that's fair?
I agree entirely. I think uh, from a not only a management aspect, but I'll say the challenge that you get in trying to find qualified individuals to actually stay on board and do the work, right? Because finding skilled individuals in our industry is becoming more of a challenge.
Yeah.
Especially in landfilling in California. So we have our own challenges finding, I'll say, the right people, a right amount of people to fill some of these voids. So this is where either contracting or and the use of this technology in combination helps us fill the gap.
And for those people who are looking to find out more about stuff like this, where would you point them to? I know you guys have some really good information on your own website, including a video that kind of shows off the drone and the dog briefly. If you want to point them to your own website, feel free. But where do you think the best place to get information on this technology would be?
The first place, of course, selfishly, I'm going to say go to oclandfills.com. And by the way, while you're there, set up a tour and come get some free compost and mulch. You come for a visit, we give you a gift. The second place I would tell you to go is the US EPA last year held a landfill gas technology seminar that we attended along with other industry folks. I thought was fantastic. And I'm sorry, it was this year. In I think it was in February or March. And so I would recommend going to the US EPA's website to take a look at the information they have on technology there. You could easily go to the Solid Waste Association of North America website. I know that they have participants on at least with Swana that are sharing their technology and information, and then there are other websites out there as well within the industry regarding the use of the technology. So I'll say those would be the three that I could share right now, but I'm pretty sure that after I get off this call, I'll be talking to the team about what information we can provide on our website for those that are interested on some of the technology, not only that we're using, that we've tested, and give access to, I say, other entities that are interested in sharing their information online. We're more than willing to promote it.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely go ahead and check out those. To check out EPA, check out Orange County Waste and Recycling's website. And just one last question before we leave you today, sir. Just very quickly, are there any moments that are fun or cool or interesting or kind of light bulb moments? Anyone that specifically stands out to you in the time that you've had, kind of piloting this technology over there in Orange County?
Probably the most impactful, or at least the most interesting moment for us was the aha moment on the use of the technology in the sense that decisions that were being made looking in the rearview mirror being able to improve those decisions with fresher data. Right, I think that has been an aha moment, not only for me but for our entire team, to be able to get the data and information to make assessments and realize that things change faster than we anticipate them changing. And so the dynamics of the landfill system, again, it's a living, breathing entity, and we are the caretakers of that. So I think that's probably the biggest aha moment for me, is this capturing the vitals, right? We'll call it
Yeah.
the vitals of our patient.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Tom. And once again, what was that website? Your own website?
oclandfills.com.
All right. Yeah, go ahead and check out oclandfills.com. Again, they have this wonderful little video up already that brief shows off the dog and the drones. And I have to admit, the dog is kind of a mix between adorable and a little alien.
Well, we've it's actually scared a few people when they came out and saw it. They got a little freaked out.
That doesn't quite surprise me, but it is
Yeah.
still really cool technology. I definitely recommend everybody go check it out. Huge thank you to Tom Katrulis, the director of Orange County Waste and Recycling. Thank you so much for joining me today, sir.
Thank you very much, Eric. I enjoyed talking trash with you today.
Very
All
literally,
right.
very literally. But
Yep.
to all of our listeners, thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Recyclist. Once again, a trademark of Diamond Scientific, an industry leader in gas analysis, instrumentation, and solutions. Make sure to check them out online at diamondsci.com. That's diamondsci.com. Or you can even set up a personalized presentation just by calling 321 223 7500. I've been your host, Eric Provost, and please check us out next week for another brand new episode of Recyclist. Thank you.